They ridiculed Earth at the Council, then humanity ended every treaty overnight. Council of Sham, the crystalline halls of the Galactic Assembly, stretched endlessly in all directions, their transparent walls reflecting the light of 1,000 distant stars. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood at the entrance of the main chamber, adjusting his formal Earth diplomatic uniform one final time. After 30 years of service to humanity's voice in galactic affairs, he had never felt as nervous as he did today. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien engineering. Floating platforms arranged in concentric circles held representatives from 47 different species. Each platform was customized for its occupant's biology. The Velkrans required platforms filled with methane gas. The Sorath delegation floated in tanks of purple liquid. The Morgothi sat on platforms heated to temperatures that would melt steel. Earth's platform was small and positioned near the bottom of the arrangement. It had been that way since humanity joined the Galactic Assembly 3 decades ago. The positioning was supposedly based on economic contribution and military strength. In reality, Marcus knew it was based on how the older species viewed newcomers. Marcus walked to his platform and took his seat. His assistant, Dr. Rebecca Santos, sat beside him with a tablet containing Earth's proposals. She looked at him with concern in her eyes. "Are you ready for this?" she whispered. Marcus nodded slowly. "We have followed every rule for 30 years. We have contributed technology, resources, and labor. Today, we ask for fairness in return." The session began with the traditional opening ceremony. High Arbiter Zephyr of the Velkran hierarchy floated at the center of the chamber. His species had founded the Galactic Assembly 5,000 years ago. They considered themselves the guardians of civilized space. "We gather today to address proposals from member civilizations," Zephyr announced in a voice that sounded like wind through metal tubes. "The Assembly recognizes Earth's delegation." Marcus stood and activated the holographic display. Charts and data appeared in the air above him, visible to all delegates. "Honored members of the Assembly," Marcus began, "Earth submits 3 proposals for consideration. First, we request equal taxation rates on interstellar trade. Currently, human merchants pay rates 40% higher than the galactic standard. Second, we request access to the Kepler trade routes, which would reduce our shipping costs and allow our colonies to thrive. Third, we request representation on the Security Council, as Earth now maintains the 5th largest fleet in the Assembly." The chamber was silent for a moment. Then the laughter began. It started with the Velkrans. High Arbiter Zephyr's methane chamber vibrated with sounds that the translation systems rendered as mocking amusement. The Sorath delegation joined in, their liquid tanks bubbling violently. Even the normally stoic Morgothia allowed their head crests to flare in a display that meant derision. Commander, Thrall of the Morgothi Empire, was the first to speak. His species looked like bipedal lizards covered in dark scales and glowing patterns. "The humans believe 30 years earns them equality. My people have been members for 3,000 years. We still do not sit on the Security Council." Ambassador Kelres of the Sarath Collective spoke next. Her species existed as a group consciousness, inhabiting multiple bodies simultaneously. Earth's 5th largest fleet, perhaps by ship count. "But your vessels are primitive. One of our dreadnoughts equals 20 of your best warships." High Arbiter Zephyr raised one of his many appendages for silence. "The human proposal shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how the Assembly functions. Membership has levels. Earth is still in probationary status. Perhaps in another century, we can discuss these matters again." Marcus felt his face burning with humiliation, but he kept his voice steady. "With respect, High Arbiter, no other species has remained in probationary status for more than 10 years. Earth has been a member for 30. Perhaps that should tell you something about your readiness," Zephyr replied. More laughter filled the chamber. A delegate from the Praxian Federation stood up. The Praxians resembled floating jellyfish with bioluminescent organs. "I reviewed Earth's proposal documents. They are quite entertaining. The humans actually believe their chemical propulsion technology is impressive. They think their nuclear weapons are a deterrent." How charmingly naive, Marcus looked around the chamber. Not a single species spoke in support of Earth's proposals. The delegates who were not openly mocking humanity simply looked away, unwilling to risk their own standing by defending the newest member. Dr. Santos leaned close to Marcus. They are not even going to vote on the proposals. They are just dismissing us. She was right. High Arbiter Zephin was already moving to the next agenda item. Earth's proposals would not even receive the courtesy of a formal rejection. They were simply being ignored. Marcus made a decision in that moment. He stood up again, his movement drawing attention back to Earth's platform. High Arbiter, Marcus said quietly. I have one additional statement. Zephin looked annoyed. The Assembly has moved beyond Earth's agenda items. This will be brief, Marcus replied. He looked around the chamber at all the species who had laughed at humanity. Effective immediately, Earth withdraws from all existing treaties with the Galactic Assembly. We will honor no further obligations under Assembly law. Human space is now closed to all foreign vessels. This session marks the end of Earth's participation in galactic civilization as it currently exists. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions. Some laughed even harder, thinking this was another display of human naivety. High Arbiter Zephin's methane chamber turned dark with anger. You cannot simply withdraw from the Assembly, Zephin declared. There are procedures. There are obligations that take years to unwind. Marcus smiled for the first time during the session. I apologize, High Arbiter. I must have misunderstood how the Assembly functions. I thought that probationary members had limited rights, but also limited obligations. Since Earth has been deemed unready for full membership, surely we are also unready for full responsibilities. He deactivated the holographic display and gestured to Dr. Santos. We will be returning to Earth now. I wish the Assembly well in its future endeavors. As Marcus and Rebecca walked toward the exit, Commander Thrall called out, This is a tantrum. You will be back within a month, begging for readmission. Marcus paused at the door and looked back. Perhaps. Or perhaps you will realize what Earth actually contributed to this Assembly. Either way, we will discover the truth soon enough. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss. In the corridor, Rebecca finally allowed herself to show emotion. Marcus, what have we done? Earth's economy depends on galactic trade. Our colonies need Assembly protection. Marcus pulled out a secure communication device. Rebecca, what do you know about the Prometheus Initiative? She shook her head. I've never heard of it. Good, that means the security protocols worked. He activated the device and spoke a single code phrase. The performance is complete. Begin Phase 1. Back on Earth, in a facility hidden beneath the Arctic ice, General Sarah Mitchell received the coded message. She had been waiting 30 years for this moment. She turned to her staff of 200 officers. All personnel, initiate withdrawal protocols. Every human agent, every embedded specialist, every technical advisor across the galaxy is to evacuate immediately. Leave nothing behind except the gifts we have been preparing. One of her officers looked worried. General, the aliens will notice when our people start disappearing. General Mitchell smiled. They will notice far more than that, Captain. They just do not know it yet. Across the galaxy, humans began their silent departure. Dr. James Wu, who had spent 15 years as the chief systems architect for the Velcrin Communications Network, quietly packed his belongings. He left his office with all the access codes and administrative privileges still active in the system. Engineer Maria Reeves, who had designed the power grid management software for the Sarath homeworld, submitted her resignation and booked passage on the last human transport, leaving Soroth Space Top Commander David Park, who trained Morgothi pilots in advanced navigation techniques, concluded his final class, and wished his students well before departing on a ship that would take him back to Earth in every corner of galactic civilization. Humans who had spent years or even decades building relationships, gaining trust, and becoming indispensable to alien infrastructure began to leave. They did not sabotage anything. They did not steal secrets. They simply walked away from positions that the aliens had never realized were so critical. The Galactic Assembly's response was predictable. High Arbiter Zephin called an emergency session for the following day. We must address Earth's childish behavior, he announced to the other delegates. They will learn that the Assembly does not negotiate with those who throw tantrums. But even as Zephyr spoke, the first technical problems were beginning to emerge. The Assembly's quantum communication network experienced a delay in message routing. Just a few microseconds, barely noticeable. The automated systems compensated easily. On the Morgothi homeworld, the planetary defense grid showed a minor error in its targeting algorithms. The error was so small that it was flagged for routine maintenance and ignored. In Soroth space, the traffic control system for their busiest trade hub processed ship movements correctly, but took slightly longer than usual to coordinate arrivals and departures. None of these problems seemed connected. None seemed serious. But they were all happening simultaneously, and they were all occurring in systems that humans had helped design or maintain. Marcus, Chen, and Rebecca Santos arrived back on Earth 2 days after the assembly session. They were taken directly to the Arctic facility where General Mitchell waited. "Welcome home, Ambassador," Mitchell said. "I hope you enjoyed your performance." Marcus looked confused. "Performance?" Mitchell gestured to a massive display screen showing a map of the galaxy. Thousands of red indicators marked locations where humans had been stationed. "Everything you have done for 30 years has been building toward this moment. Every treaty we signed gave us access. Every trade agreement allowed us to embed our people deeper into their civilizations. Every technical assistance program we offered taught us their weaknesses." Rebecca stared at the display in shock. "We have been preparing for war this entire time." "Not war," Mitchell corrected. "War implies we intend to destroy them. We simply intend to remind them that respect is earned through capability, not granted through condescension." She activated another display showing technical diagrams of alien infrastructure. The Velcrin Communication Network. Designed by humans, the Soroth Power Management System. Built on human software, the Morgothi Navigation Database. Maintained by human engineers, for 30 years we have been making ourselves indispensable while appearing harmless. Marcus sat down slowly as the scope of the operation became clear. "And now we have withdrawn our support." "Exactly," Mitchell said. "The aliens are about to discover what happens when the species they considered too primitive to respect suddenly stops helping them function. This is not about revenge, Ambassador. This is about establishing a new relationship based on reality rather than their delusions of superiority." The screen changed to show real-time data feeds from across the galaxy. More red indicators appeared as systems began experiencing problems. The failures were still minor, but they were spreading. "How long?" Marcus asked quietly. "Before they understand what is happening?" Mitchell checked her tablet. "Based on our models, about 2 weeks. Before they start begging us to return? Perhaps a month. Before they agree to treat us as equals? That depends on how stubborn they are." Marcus thought about the laughter in the assembly chamber, the casual dismissal of humanity's contributions, the condescension that had defined every interaction for 30 years. "Let them learn the hard way," he said finally. General Mitchell nodded in agreement. "The lesson has already begun." The silent departure of the Velcrin hierarchy's capital world hummed with activity as it had for thousands of years. Ships arrived and departed from orbital stations. The communication network processed trillions of messages each day. Power flowed through grid systems that supplied energy to billions of inhabitants. Everything functioned with the precision that came from millennia of technological refinement. High Arbiter Zephyr floated in his private chambers, reviewing reports from the previous day's assembly session. The human tantrum had been amusing but ultimately meaningless. Earth would return once their colony worlds started running short on supplies. Probationary members always learned their place eventually. His chief of operations, Arbiter Kelvin, entered the chamber. "Hi, Arbiter. I have concerning news from the communications division." Zephyr barely looked up from his reports. "What kind of concerns?" "The quantum network is experiencing unusual delays. Messages that should route instantly are taking several seconds. The technical staff cannot identify the cause." How long has this been occurring?" "Since yesterday, approximately 3 hours after the human delegation departed," Azephan finally gave Kelvin his full attention. And you believe this is related to Earth's withdrawal? Kelvin's methane chamber shifted colors with uncertainty. The timing is suspicious. I should mention that Dr. James Wu, the human who has managed our network architecture for 15 years, submitted his resignation yesterday. He left on a transport this morning. For the first time, Zephan felt a flicker of concern. One human technician cannot be essential to our systems. We built these networks thousands of years before Earth even achieved spaceflight. That is what I assumed as well, High Arbiter. However, I reviewed Dr. Wu's personnel file. He was involved in our last 3 major network upgrades. He designed the current routing protocols. He trained most of our senior technical staff, then have our staff fix whatever problems exist. They are trying, High Arbiter. The issue is that much of the recent network architecture uses programming languages and design principles that Dr. Wu introduced. Our people are having difficulty understanding some of the implementation details. Zephan dismissed Kelvin with a wave of his appendages. Then they will learn. We are the Velkrin hierarchy. We do not depend on primitive species to maintain our technology. But even as he spoke, similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. On the Sarath homeworld, Administrator Kelris was staring at readouts showing power distribution anomalies. "Explain this to me again," she demanded of her chief engineer. The engineer's consciousness flickered with embarrassment across multiple bodies. The power management system is functioning, but not optimally. We are experiencing fluctuations that should not be possible. The automated load balancing seems to be making inefficient decisions, and this began yesterday. Shortly after, Engineer Maria Reeves departed for Earth. Kelris felt anger surge through her collective consciousness. Are you telling me that our entire power grid depends on one human engineer? Not depends, Administrator. But Engineer Reeves designed major portions of the current system. She implemented optimization algorithms that our own engineers do not fully understand. The documentation she left behind is incomplete. Incomplete? That violates every protocol. Administrator. The documentation covers all the basic functionality, but the advanced optimization techniques she used are not explained in detail. We believe she considered them proprietary human knowledge. Kelris accessed the Sorath Memory Collective, reviewing everything they knew about Maria Reeves. The human had worked for them for 12 years. She had been helpful, competent, and seemingly grateful for the opportunity to learn from Sorath technology. The idea that she had been holding back knowledge had never occurred to anyone. How serious are these power fluctuations? Currently minor, but if they worsen, we could experience brownouts across major cities. The system is no longer optimizing energy distribution the way it did when Engineer Reeves was managing it. Kelris made a decision. Contact other Sorath worlds. See if they are experiencing similar problems. And find out how many human technical advisors have left their positions in the last 2 days. The answer came back within hours. Every Sorath colony world that had employed human engineers was reporting technical difficulties. And every human engineer had resigned and departed at approximately the same time, Commander. Thrall of the Morgothi Empire was having the worst day of his military career. His fleet had just completed what should have been a routine training exercise. Instead, it had been a disaster. Explain to me how 3 of my ships nearly collided during a simple formation maneuver. He demanded of his navigation chief. The navigation chief's head crest was lowered in submission. Commander, the navigation database is providing incorrect coordinates. The errors are small, but when multiple ships are operating in close proximity, those small errors become dangerous. The navigation database has functioned perfectly for decades. Yes, Commander. It was last updated 6 months ago by Commander David Park of Earth. He implemented new precision algorithms that improved our accuracy by 0.03%. Except now, those algorithms seem to be producing errors instead of improvements. Thrall's claws dug into his command chair. Where is Commander Park now? He concluded his training rotation 3 days ago and returned to Earth, thanked him for his service, and wished him well. Get him back here immediately. We have tried, Commander. All human personnel have evacuated from Morgothi space. The Earth's embassy on our capital world is empty. Even the maintenance staff are gone. Thrall pulled up reports from other military installations. Every base that had hosted human trainers or advisors was reporting problems. Navigation errors, targeting system glitches, communication delays. Each problem was minor by itself, but collectively they represented a significant degradation in fleet readiness. This is coordinated, Thrall realized. The humans planned this withdrawal, contacted the Morgothi High Command. We need to address the Earth situation immediately. This is not a tantrum. This is a strategic operation, but High Command was dealing with its own crisis. The planetary defense network for the Morgothi homeworld had just failed a routine diagnostic test for the first time in its history. 3 weeks after Earth's withdrawal, the Galactic Assembly held another emergency session. This time, the mood was very different from the previous meeting. High Arbiter Zephyr opened the session with unprecedented urgency. We face a crisis that threatens the stability of galactic civilization. Multiple member states are reporting infrastructure failures. Communication networks are degrading. Power systems are becoming unreliable. Military readiness is declining. And all of these problems began when human personnel withdrew from their positions. Ambassador Kelrus of the Soroth Collective spoke next. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by barely contained panic. Our power grid analysis shows that humans redesigned approximately 60% of our energy infrastructure over the past 20 years. We did not realize how dependent we had become on their expertise because the systems work so well. Now we are discovering that we cannot maintain or repair these systems without human assistance. Commander Thrall was more direct. The Morgothi Empire's military capabilities have decreased by an estimated 15% in 3 weeks. Our targeting systems, navigation databases, and tactical computers all contain human-designed components that we cannot properly service. If this continues, we will be defenseless within months. Delegate after delegate shared similar stories. The Praxian Federation had lost control of their automated mining operations. The Dravian Compact could no longer coordinate their merchant fleet efficiently. Even the ancient Velkran hierarchy was struggling to maintain basic communication services. High Arbiter, Zephyr, listened to each report with growing horror. How did this happen? How did we become so dependent on a probationary member species without realizing it? Administrator Kelrus had reviewed the historical records carefully. I can answer that, High Arbiter. We became dependent because humans were helpful. Whenever we had a technical problem, they offered solutions. Whenever we needed to upgrade our systems, they volunteered expertise. We accepted their help because we assumed they were grateful to learn from our superior civilizations. We never considered that they might be positioning themselves to become indispensable. This is extortion, declared Delegate Frax of the Praxian Federation. We should send military forces to Earth and compel them to resume their obligations. Thrall shook his head. We tried that approach 2 weeks ago. A Morgothi task force entered Earth's solar system to deliver an ultimatum. They were met by human vessels we did not know existed. Ships with capabilities that exceed our intelligence estimates by a significant margin. The task force withdrew without engaging, but the message was clear. Earth is not defenseless. Zephyr felt the weight of thousands of years of Velkran superiority crumbling around him. What do the humans want? We do not know, Kelrus admitted. They have not communicated with any assembly member since their withdrawal. Human space is closed. Their embassy stations are empty. It is as if they have simply decided to stop participating in galactic civilization. A junior delegate from the Turthon Collective spoke up hesitantly. Perhaps that is exactly what they have done. We treated them as inferiors for 30 years. We laughed at their proposals. We dismissed their concerns. Maybe they decided they would rather have no relationship with us than continue accepting disrespect. The chamber fell silent. It was a perspective that none of the senior delegates wanted to consider. The idea that Earth genuinely did not need the Galactic Assembly was terrifying because it meant the Assembly needed Earth far more than anyone had realized. Zephon made a decision he never thought he would have to make. We need to open negotiations with Earth. not as superiors granting concessions to an inferior species, but as equals seeking to resolve a mutual problem. That would mean granting them everything they requested in their previous proposal. Kelrus protested. Equal taxation, access to restricted trade routes, Security Council representation. I am aware, Zephyr replied. But consider the alternative. If our infrastructure continues to degrade, if our civilizations begin to fail, what will those concessions matter? Earth has proven that they were never as primitive as we believed. They were simply patient. Now they hold leverage that we cannot counter with military force or economic pressure. Commander Thrall added his perspective. The humans also demonstrated remarkable discipline. They did not sabotage anything as they withdrew. They did not steal technology or destroy facilities. They simply stopped helping us. That suggests they are not seeking revenge. They are seeking a reset of the relationship. Zephyr floated to the center of the chamber. Then we will give them that reset. The Assembly will send a delegation to Earth with a formal proposal. We will acknowledge our errors and request a new framework for cooperation. One based on mutual respect? And if they refuse? Asked Kelrus. Zephyr's methane chamber darkened with resignation. Then galactic civilization as we know it will end. We built our success on the assumption that we were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Earth has proven that assumption false. If we cannot adapt to that new reality, we deserve whatever future we create for ourselves. The vote to authorize negotiations with Earth passed unanimously. As the session ended, delegates departed quietly, without the usual political maneuvering and social interactions. Each of them was calculating what this shift in galactic power meant for their own civilization's future. High Arbiter Zephyr remained in the chamber after everyone else had left. He reviewed the records of the previous session where they had laughed at Ambassador Chen's proposals. The Velcrin hierarchy had existed for 5,000 years. In all that time, they had never been outmaneuvered by a younger species until now. Zephyr activated a secure communication system and composed a message to Earth. It began with 2 words he never thought he would have to say to a probationary member. We apologize. The reckoning, the message from high. Arbiter Zephyr arrived at Earth's diplomatic headquarters on a cold morning in Geneva. Ambassador Marcus Chen read it 3 times to ensure he understood correctly. The Velcrin hierarchy, the oldest and most powerful civilization in the Galactic Assembly, was apologizing to humanity. He forwarded the message to General Mitchell at the Arctic facility. Her response came back immediately. Let them wait. We will reply when we are ready. Marcus understood the strategy. For 30 years, Earth had responded to every alien communication promptly. They had been eager to please, quick to help, grateful for any attention. That version of humanity was gone. The new Earth would set the terms and the timeline. 5 days passed before Marcus sent a reply. It was brief and formal. Earth acknowledges the Assembly's message. We are willing to discuss a new framework for cooperation. We will transmit meeting coordinates within 48 hours. Coordinates, when they arrived, surprised everyone. Earth requested the meeting take place at a human facility in orbit around Mars, not at neutral Galactic Assembly territory. It was another clear signal. Aliens would come to human space on human terms. High Arbiter Zephyr led the Assembly delegation personally. He brought representatives from 12 major civilizations, including Administrator Kelruz of the Sorath Collective and Commander Thrall of the Morgothi Empire. As their ships approached Mars, they got their first real look at human military capability. The orbital facility was surrounded by defense platforms that looked nothing like the primitive weapons Earth was supposed to possess. Human warships patrolled in formations that demonstrated tactical sophistication. The alien sensor readings showed energy signatures that should not be possible with human technology. They have been hiding their true capabilities for decades, Commander Thrall observed as his ship docked at the facility. We saw what they wanted us to see. The meeting room was designed to human specifications. Gravity was Earth standard, forcing aliens to use environmental suits or adaptation devices. Temperature, atmosphere, lighting, all were calibrated for human comfort. It was a subtle but clear demonstration of who controlled this negotiation. Ambassador? Chen entered the room with General Mitchell and Dr. Santos. They took seats at one end of a long table while the alien delegates arranged themselves at the other end. Marcus began without preamble. High Arbiter Zephyr, you stated in your message that the Assembly wishes to discuss a new framework for cooperation. We are interested in hearing your proposal. Zephyr's methane chamber shifted colors with discomfort. He was not accustomed to being in the position of supplicant. Ambassador Chen, the Assembly acknowledges that we may have underestimated Earth's contributions to galactic civilization. We are prepared to offer significant concessions to restore our previous working relationship. What concessions specifically? Administrator Kelreese activated a holographic display showing treaty documents, equal taxation rates on all trade, full access to primary trade routes including the Kepler corridor, immediate elevation from probationary to full member status, and a seat on the Security Council. Marcus glanced at the display without comment. These are the same things we requested 1 month ago. The proposals that were dismissed and laughed at during the assembly session. Zephyr's chamber darkened. We acknowledge that our response was inappropriate. We are offering now what we should have granted then. Why? Marcus asked simply. What changed in 1 month? Why? Marcus asked simply. What changed in 1 month? The alien delegates looked at each other uncomfortably. Finally, Commander Thrall spoke with brutal honesty. Our civilizations are failing without human technical support. We need you more than we realized. General Mitchell leaned forward. That is honest, Commander, but it is not complete. You do not just need our technical support. You need us to not oppose you. You saw our defense capabilities when you approached. Mars, you know now that if we chose to be an adversary instead of a neutral party, we could cause significant problems for galactic security. Thrall's head crest rose with respect. That is true, General. Earth has proven to be far more formidable than our intelligence indicated. Marcus pulled out a data tablet. Let me share some information with you. For 30 years, humans worked throughout galactic civilization. We were engineers, programmers, trainers, advisors, and consultants. We were in your communication centers, your power facilities, your military bases, your government systems. You gave us access because you believed we were primitive and therefore harmless. He activated a display showing a map of the galaxy with thousands of markers. These represent systems that contain human-designed components or human-modified code. 63% of the Soroth power grid, 71% of Velcrin communications infrastructure, 48% of Moragathi military systems. Similar percentages across every major civilization? Administrator Kelris stared at the display in shock. That cannot be accurate. Dr. Santos spoke for the first time. It is completely accurate, Administrator. We have spent the last month compiling this data from our personnel records. Every human who worked in your civilizations kept detailed documentation of their contributions. When we decided to withdraw, we knew exactly how much impact it would have. Marcus continued. Here is what concerns you most. Those systems that we designed or modified, they all contain fail-safes that only human technicians know how to manage. Some of those fail-safes are beginning to activate now because the systems are not being properly maintained. In approximately 6 more weeks, critical infrastructure across the galaxy will start experiencing catastrophic failures. The alien delegates erupted in angry protests. Zephyr's voice cut through the noise. That is sabotage. You deliberately undermined our systems. General Mitchell's voice was cold. No, High Arbiter. We designed robust systems with safety mechanisms to prevent improper maintenance from causing disasters. Those safety mechanisms are now activating because your technicians do not understand the PSO systems well enough to maintain them correctly. This is not sabotage. This is the natural consequence of depending on expertise you did not bother to develop yourselves. Commander Thrall asked the critical question. Can you stop these fail-safes from activating? Yes, Marcus replied. Human technicians can maintain the systems properly, but that requires us to return to our previous positions throughout galactic civilization. Which you will do in exchange for the concessions we offered? Zephyr asked hopefully. Marcus shook his head. No, High Arbiter. Those concessions are not sufficient. The room fell silent. Administrator Kelris finally spoke. What more do you want? We are offering you everything you originally requested. Marcus stood up and walked to the window overlooking Mars. What Earth wants is not more concessions. What we want is a fundamental change in how galactic civilization operates. He turned back to face the aliens. For thousands of years, the Assembly has functioned as a hierarchy. Old civilizations at the top, new members at the bottom. Power and privileges are distributed based on age and military strength. This system worked when all members were roughly equal in capability and technology. But it does not work when a civilization chooses to appear weaker than they actually are. General Mitchell picked up the explanation. Earth spent 30 years studying galactic civilization from the inside. We learned your technologies, your political systems, your military strategies, your economic structures. We learned all of this while pretending to be grateful students. And do you know what we discovered? She activated another display showing comparative analysis charts. We discovered that galactic civilization is stagnant. Your technologies have barely improved in 1,000 years. Your political systems are rigid and resistant to change. Your military doctrines are predictable. You have become complacent because you have never faced a genuine challenge to your dominance. Dr. Santos added her perspective. Earth represents something you have never encountered before. A civilization that intentionally developed differently from your standard path. We focused on different technologies, different strategies, different ways of thinking. When you laughed at our chemical rockets and nuclear weapons, you missed the point. Those were never our real capabilities. They were what we showed you while we developed something better. Marcus returned to his seat. Here is Earth's proposal. The Galactic Assembly will be restructured from a hierarchy into an actual cooperative organization. Every member will have equal voice and equal vote regardless of age or size. The Security Council will be expanded to include representatives from all major regions of the galaxy. It's not just the oldest civilizations. And most importantly, there will be complete transparency in all technical and military matters. No more secrets. No more species hiding capabilities from each other. High Arbiter Zephin's chamber flickered with agitation. That would fundamentally alter the balance of power that has maintained peace for thousands of years. Has it maintained peace? Marcus challenged. Or has it maintained control? Earth has reviewed the Assembly's history. Smaller civilizations are frequently pressured to accept unfavorable terms. Probationary members wait decades or even centuries for full membership. Resources are distributed based on political connections rather than need. That is not peace. That is enforced order. Commander Thrall was thoughtful. You are proposing a revolution in how galactic civilization functions. Many of the older species will resist this change. Then they can resist, General Mitchell replied. But they will do so without human technical support. And given how dependent your civilizations have become on human expertise, I suggest you carefully consider whether maintaining your privileged position is worth watching your infrastructure collapse. Administrator Kelreese accessed her collective memory, consulting with the vast Soroth consciousness. The proposal has merit, she finally said. The current system has become inefficient. The Soroth collective values optimization. If Earth's proposed structure is more efficient, we support it. Zephin was less convinced. The Velcrin hierarchy has led the Assembly for 5,000 years. We have experienced that younger species lack, Marcus smiled. High Arbiter, with respect, that experience has made you predictable. Earth knew exactly how you would respond to every move we made, because you always respond the same way. True wisdom is not about maintaining the same patterns for thousands of years. It is about adapting when circumstances change. He pulled out a document and slid it across the table. This is Earth's complete proposal for restructuring the Galactic Assembly. It includes new governance structures, revised economic policies, updated security protocols, and most importantly, a mutual technology sharing agreement. No more hiding capabilities. No more species pretending to be less advanced than they are. Dr. Santos added, the proposal also includes a training program. Human technicians will return to their positions throughout the galaxy. But this time they will actually train your people properly. No more keeping the advanced knowledge to ourselves. We will share everything so that your civilizations can maintain your own infrastructure. Zephyr reviewed the document in silence. This is more than a treaty. This is a complete reimagining of galactic civilization. Yes, Marcus agreed, because the old model no longer works. Earth has proven that a younger species can match or exceed the capabilities of older civilizations. If we can do it, others will eventually do it too. The Assembly can either adapt to this new reality or become irrelevant. Commander Thrall spoke with military pragmatism. The Morgothi Empire will support this proposal. We value strength, and Earth has demonstrated strength. A restructured assembly that recognizes capability over age is more honest than the current system. One by one, the other delegates added their support. Some were genuinely convinced. Others simply recognized that they had no choice. Without human cooperation, their civilizations would fail. High Arbiter Zephyr was the last to decide. His methane chamber turned colors that indicated deep thought and internal conflict. Finally, he spoke. 5,000 years ago, the Velcrin hierarchy founded the Galactic Assembly based on principles we believed were eternal. Today, Earth has shown us that nothing is eternal. Civilizations must evolve, or they will stagnate. He floated forward slightly. The Velcrin hierarchy will support Earth's proposal. Let this be the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. Marcus stood and extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Zephyr extended one of his appendages in return, completing the first equal gesture of respect between their species. There's one more thing, General Mitchell said. Earth requires assurance that this change is genuine. We want human observers integrated into every major government and military structure in the Assembly. Not as spies, but as transparent partners who can verify compliance with the new agreements. Administrator Kelrest nodded. That is acceptable. The Soroth Collective will also provide observers to Earth to ensure reciprocal transparency. Agreed, Marcus said. The negotiations continued for 3 more days. Working out the complex details of restructuring an organization that had existed for millennia, but the fundamental change had already occurred. Earth was no longer a probationary member, begging for acceptance. They were an equal partner shaping the future of galactic civilization. On the final day, as the alien delegates prepared to depart, Commander Thrall approached Marcus privately. Ambassador Chen, may I ask a personal question? Of course, Commander. When did Earth begin planning this operation? The withdrawal, the demonstration of hidden capabilities, the restructuring proposal? This level of coordination required years of preparation. Marcus smiled. The first meeting of the Prometheus Initiative occurred 31 years ago, 1 year before Earth officially joined the Galactic Assembly. We knew from studying history that younger species were never treated as equals. So we decided to join the Assembly, learn everything we could, and position ourselves to force change when the time was right. Thrall's head crest rose with respect. 31 years of patience. That is remarkable strategic thinking. Humans can be very patient when we are working toward a goal, Commander. We believe in the long game. As the alien ships departed Mars orbit, Marcus stood with General Mitchell and Dr. Santos watching them leave. Do you think they will honor the new agreements? Rebecca asked. They will, Sarah replied confidently. Because we still maintain leverage through our technical expertise, and because we have shown them that cooperation benefits everyone more than dominance benefits the few. Marcus thought about the journey humanity had taken. 3 decades of being dismissed and disrespected. 3 decades of appearing weak while growing strong. 3 decades of patience leading to a single moment that changed everything. The galaxy underestimated us because we chose to be underestimated, he said quietly. That was our greatest advantage. General Mitchell nodded. And now we have used that advantage to create something better. Not human dominance replacing alien dominance, but actual cooperation between equals. Dr. Santos pulled up a display showing news feeds from across the galaxy. Alien media was reporting the restructuring of the Galactic Assembly. Some reactions were angry. Others were relieved. But all recognized that galactic civilization had fundamentally changed. What happens next? Rebecca asked. Marcus smiled. Next, we actually do what we promised. We train their technicians. We share our knowledge. We help build a galaxy where species are judged by their capabilities and character, not by their age or their willingness to submit to hierarchy. And if another species tries to dominate the new system, then we remind them of what happened when the old system tried to keep humanity in its place. We remind them that appearing weak and actually being weak are very different things. And we remind them that patience, properly applied, is the most powerful weapon any civilization can possess. Earth's first month as an equal member of the restructured Galactic Assembly was busy. Human technicians returned to their positions across alien space, but this time with full authority and transparent mandates. Training programs began immediately, with humans finally teaching the advanced techniques they'd kept hidden for decades. The transformation was not without challenges. Some alien factions resisted the changes. Old power structures did not yield easily. But the alternative was clear to anyone paying attention. Cooperate with the new system, or watch your civilization fail without human support. Marcus. Chen was offered the position of first speaker in the new assembly structure, a role that rotated between member civilizations. He declined, recommending instead that the position go to a neutral delegate from a smaller civilization. His explanation was simple. Earth did not force this change to dominate others. We forced it to create genuine equality. The gesture was noted throughout the galaxy. It demonstrated that Earth's intentions were sincere. Years later, historians studying this period would identify it as the moment when galactic civilization truly matured. The old hierarchy based on age gave way to a cooperative framework based on contribution and capability. The stagnation that had characterized the previous millennium was replaced by rapid innovation, as different species shared knowledge freely. And Earth's role in making it happen became legend. The species that was laughed at for being primitive. The civilization that was dismissed as too young to matter. The humans who chose to appear weak until the perfect moment to reveal their strength. They called it the Terran Revolution. Though Marcus Chen always insisted it was simply humanity doing what humans do best. Learning, adapting, and changing the rules when the rules no longer work. Ambassador. Marcus Chen retired from diplomatic service 5 years after the restructuring. On his last day, High Arbiter Zephin sent him a personal message. Ambassador Chen, when we first met, I thought Earth was a naive species that needed to learn its place. I was wrong. Earth taught the galaxy that places are not assigned. They are earned. Thank you for the lesson. Marcus shared the message with his successor, a young diplomat named David Rodriguez, who would represent Earth in the new assembly. Remember this, Marcus told him. Never let them forget that respect is not given. It is earned. And never let them forget what happens when they mistake patience for weakness. David nodded. Earth will remember, Ambassador. And they did, for generations to come. Humans carried the story of how their civilization changed the galaxy not through conquest or aggression, but through strategic patience and the willingness to walk away from a system that did not respect them. It was humanity's greatest victory precisely because it was achieved without firing a shot, without destroying an enemy, without imposing dominance. It was won by simply being willing to stop helping those who refused to treat them as equals. The galaxy learned its lesson, and galactic civilization was better for it.